how to set up your VA for online marketing success. Hey guys, Adrienne Green with Workergenics here, and today I am going to dive in how you can work with a virtual assistant or virtual professional, as we have at Workergenics, to help you with your online marketing. Last week's video, I detailed all the ways that I would use a virtual assistant for prospecting, lead generation, and online marketing as a part of that. And today I wanted to dive into specifically with the online marketing. If I was going to start from scratch, if I was going to advise somebody starting from scratch, here's what I would tell you to do to set yourself and your virtual assistant up for success with this online marketing. So if you're like, okay, great, this is a great idea, but I have no idea where to start, here's where you start, step by step. And if you follow these, you should be pretty successful. All right, so let's dive in. First, if you're going to have your virtual assistant help you with online marketing, they need to know who your ideal client is. You know, we often call this your ideal client avatar. So my first instruction to you is to know and document your ideal client avatar. So you need to be able to explain to your virtual assistant what your ideal client is like. Where do they live? What's their education level? What do they do for work? What do they do for fun? How much discretionary income do they have? What are their pain points? What are their goals and aspirations? Now, you might not have all of that for your ideal client, and yet you'll want to have some of that based on your business and who you're reaching. That gives you some ideas, and you want to have that again on a sheet. You know, this can be something that you have in your documentation so that your virtual assistant can read it, can refer back to it. If your team grows, the next person can read it, because we never want to repeat and be inefficient with our time. Second, you want to know and document your brand's style. I think of style as both your graphic style, what you want things to look like, you know, your brand's colors, your font, your logo, things like that. Your brand's style socially and culturally as well. Are you sophisticated? Are you refined? Are you casual? Are you fun? Are you a joker? Are you serious? What is that brand style that you're going to want them to represent in your online marketing? If you are a high-end store on Fifth Avenue, you're going to have a very different brand style than if you're a surf shop in California, right? And that's what you want to document and have down with some examples and some guiding documents so that they can read it and understand it and refer back to it. Okay, so I usually like to have a bullet point and list, and then I also like to have some examples in that document personally. The next thing, as you look to use a virtual assistant for online marketing, is to think of the technology tools that you can leverage with your virtual assistant. I use a ton of technology, and my virtual assistants use technologies. I'm a huge fan of that, and it is not either or. We don't leverage with just a virtual assistant or just technology. We leverage with both. So some tools to get you thinking are, first off, AI tools, right? ChatGPT is something that I use a lot personally. If you're doing a lot in the graphics space, you may want to look at some of the graphics AI tools that are out there as well. If you want to use AI for writing, if you want to use it for images, think about where you're going to use AI and get a tool that's a good fit for that. There are a lot out there now. Now, they do need, like, as a little bit of an aside, they're not perfect. And so we definitely do need somebody to oversee them. I don't think that AI is in any way coming close to replacing a virtual assistant at this point. They're a tool to help leverage that virtual assistant. Social media management tools are another technology tool if you're having them in the online marketing space. Think of something like Hootsuite, Buffer, Metricool, something where they can more efficiently post across multiple platforms, where they can more efficiently manage those inboxes. It's going to really help them use their time and be able to do a lot more for you. Video editing tools. There's so many AI-based video editing tools out there now. And if you're doing online marketing or anything with video, definitely either yourself or your virtual assistant look into these video editing tools. CapCut is a really big one that you might want to look into. It's what we use personally, but there are plenty of other ones out there as well. Then newsletter tools. Online newsletters, very, very awesome thing to put out there, as long as you're using them to add value to your clients and not just spam them. And you're going to do that much more efficiently with a tool like MailChimp, MailerLite, something like that. And then graphic design tools, Canva. Canva is the GOAT when it comes to graphic design now, right? And so definitely create an account there, have them log in, and make sure, guys, with all of these tools, I highly recommend that you as the business owner, as the entrepreneur, are in charge of this account, and they are logging in. They may have a user account under your master account. You may have just one account people are sharing depending on the tool. But you want to be in charge of that, because whatever's being created in there, you want it to be in your world and not on that VA's world, just in case something happens or they leave, or you want to be able to access it. They're out for the day, they're sick, and you still need to do it. You need to be the one controlling that. Along those same lines, with those technology tools and in general, you want to be making templates and reusing them. So a couple examples of this: in Canva, you're going to have a template for a type of post. You're going to be able to duplicate it. You're going to be able to tweak it and reuse it and not start from scratch. Newsletters, same thing. Within whatever newsletter system you have, you can create a template and then you can just edit it week after week, and you're not starting from scratch. So throughout these tools and in general, you always want to think about how you can have a template for your online marketing and reuse it. Efficiency is like one of my favorite things, guys, and it's really helps you achieve a lot more. So think about that along those ways. And that feeds into the next point: make SOPs. Make standard operating procedures for everything that the virtual assistant is doing. And if you've watched my other videos, you know that you're not making that SOP, the virtual assistant is, right? And you're reviewing it. And so have these SOPs, because first off, we want a standard of this is what we expect, so that if we ever deviate from the standard, we can be held accountable for that. Second, so that we can learn and grow and improve that SOP as we learn and grow. And third, so that if the virtual assistant ever leaves, if we ever have turnover, that's natural in a business, you have somewhere to start for the next person coming in. So definitely make those SOPs, keep them up to date, and reference back to them periodically. And kind of hand in hand with that, I love using a project management tool. Currently, we use Monday.com. It's really robust. It does have a learning curve because it's so powerful. Asana, Trello, other things like that. We want to have a project management tool where every task that is being given to your virtual assistant is tracked there. All tasking is in that project management tool. And the nice thing is, especially with online marketing, a lot of these tasks are repetitive, right? Like we do a newsletter every week. You can often in these tools set up something as a recurring or repeating task. So it's marked complete as this week, and then that automatically creates a new task to be completed next week. And it just keeps going. That is something that I love, love, love to do, because I know I need my to-do list, right? And we should expect the same of the virtual assistant. So in that project management portal, they have all their tasks with all their due dates. It makes it really easy for everyone to be on the same page. Another thing, when we look at these SOPs and we look at this project management tool, we want to make sure that oversight and accountability is a theme that is carried throughout everything we do. An example of that is my go-to in our project management tool is when a task is marked done, that there's a screenshot of that completed task that is put in the task, right? That's in our little notes board about the task. They screenshot that it was completed and it's there. That might be an example of a post being prepared and scheduled on our social media management tool. That might be a shot of a edited video or something like that. But just that accountability of there's a screenshot of this completed task so that we know that there's no fudging on that is something that I really like. And it makes it so you're not picking on anyone in particular. You're just creating an environment where people know there's accountability and they need to do what they say that they're going to do. Along those lines, we're kind of moving into, hey, here's the nitty gritty of the things that you do to let's manage a virtual assistant well as they do that, right? So as you're working with a virtual assistant and starting them off on some of this online marketing, you want to make sure you're giving a lot of guidance at the beginning, right? They need to know what the expectation is, and that can come from those SOPs and things like that. And I always say you want to do the 20% so they can do the other 80%. Keep that in mind. Another general philosophy that can help here is the idea of I do, we do, they do, or you do. So you want to potentially start off with doing it first. If it's something that is in your wheelhouse, I will say video editing, maybe that's not in your wheelhouse to do it first, but for a lot of things, especially if you're doing them already, we want to start with I do. Then we go to we do. We're doing it together. I'm doing a part, you're doing a part, or you're watching me do it, or things like that. And then we move on to you do it, to the next person's doing it, to the virtual assistant's doing it. But it does not go immediately to their doing it at 100% with no oversight from you, because that is a recipe for failure. So let's instead Realize that you as the business owner, as the entrepreneur, are a genius. You're the one who probably knows your ideal client best. You know the vision that you have and what you want to create, and you cannot expect a virtual assistant to read your mind. So especially as they first take on these tasks, this needs to be a collaborative process where you're giving them feedback, where you're giving them guidance, and where you're giving them these guideposts to set them up to cross the finish line successfully. Now, as this is ongoing, right, as they continue to work for you, you want to continue to inspect what you expect, right? Because people can get off course. And if it's just, there's like Tony Robbins has, right? You're just like a millimeter off. Over time, your plane is not landing in Hawaii or in the middle of the Pacific with no place to go. All right. So we want to continually check in and inspect what we expect. This is not being a micromanager. This is not putting a ton on your plate as the entrepreneur. It's periodic check-ins to make sure that we're on course. It is still super leveraged, and it is still meaning that you're doing just a tiny bit for all the work that the virtual assistant is doing. And as you inspect what you expect, as you give feedback from the beginning all the way through, a thing that helps a lot is the positive sandwich, right? Pro, con, pro. As we're interacting with people, especially if they're virtual assistants and they're not here in person with us, we need to make sure that they understand the full picture of what we're thinking. And often we can just say the criticism. We can just say what needs to change. And so I think it helps to be very overt with keeping in mind the idea of a positive sandwich. I love this part of this newsletter that you put together. You've got the format perfect. I don't love the content for this one section. Can we maybe change the prompts we're giving to ChatGPT to clean this up? Can we maybe be a little more specific with our target market? Or I'd rather this part be bullets instead of paragraphs, whatever that is. Overall, this newsletter is looking great, and I really appreciate your help with it. There's an example of the positive sandwich and what that can look like. That is kind of my key words of wisdom as you're working with a virtual assistant for online marketing, right? We start with they need to know your ideal client, your brand, and your vision for what this should look like, because they're not going to know because they're not you. So make sure you communicate that. Make sure you give them the tech tools to be successful and to help leverage their time well and be efficient. And same thing, we want to have systems, we want to have SOPs, we want to have templates so that everything is duplicatable, repeatable, and systemized. And then we want to continue to manage them well. We want to oversee, we want to check in periodically. This is something where you as the business owner, you are still the business owner. You cannot check out completely. And let's be thoughtful in how we have that interaction and make sure we point out all the great things as well as the things that need to change. Now, if you are looking for a virtual assistant or you're having a hard time with the virtual assistant you have or making a go of hiring directly, remember Workergenics is always here as a full service virtual assistant agency. So if you need help finding a virtual assistant and managing them, that is what we specialize in. Information is below so you can schedule a discovery call. Thank you so much.